Darksiders is an action-adventure game where you play as War, the first horseman of the apocalypse, and it's essentially a game made by people who love video games, and we really want it to feel like contemporary action games while also mixing a lot of the, I guess, old-school action-adventure elements that involve a lot of puzzling or puzzle-solving and exploration. War, while he does have very strong biblical ties, we're trying to present him more as a comic book character. Obviously that makes sense considering we have Joe Matt on the project, but we want it to be a little bit more cartoony and a little bit more accessible to people. We don't really want to tie it too closely to religious undertones, so we're trying to keep it much more expressive and kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon meets comic book version of a Horseman of the Apocalypse. Well, you start having been stripped of all your powers because the apocalypse wasn't supposed to happen, so when you come back to Earth, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's weak, but he's certainly not a full-fledged Horseman of the Apocalypse. And much the same as you do in other action-adventure games, you're going to slowly build up your arsenal to the point where you're nearly an unstoppable destruction machine. So little by little, players will get new abilities, and as they get those abilities, they'll be able to explore more and more areas of the world, which will allow them to in turn get more abilities and gain in power, strength, both in combat and traversal, puzzle solving, etc. We're not really doing any of the minigame button mashing, but timing your access to the creature's weakness so that you can get involved in an interactive is going to be pretty challenging, but once you figure it out, you're going to be able to use the creature to do some pretty crazy stuff, whether it's run over other creatures, scale huge gorges, or just knock down impassable objects. Anything that isn't bolted down, we want War to be able to pick up. If you can hit it and it can go tumbling around, players can pick it up. Even some of the mundane things that you think wouldn't do any damage, candlesticks, the little metal pole dividers that keep you in line at the bank, you can pick all of those up, throw them around, and just kind of have a good time. It really breaks up some of the combat pacing, even if it seems kind of silly. But you can also pick up some pretty heavy-duty stuff like cars, buses, eventually some pretty serious things like subway cars and maybe even pieces of building, other creatures. Just generally wreak havoc with anything that is movable. Well, anything that War can do on foot, we wanted him to be able to do on the horse. And the horse is obviously, getting the horse is a seminal moment, and it really kind of completes War's power set and makes him extremely difficult for any normal creature to kill. So once he gets him, we really have to amp up the action. And if he's on horseback, the only thing that's really going to be able to challenge him is going to be something that's pretty big and pretty seriously threatening. And once they're on the horse, we still want them to be able to fire their gun, still be able to use their sword, and and another nice thing about the horse is that because he's not a standard horse, he can be summoned and dismissed at any time, mid-combo, mid-jump, while they're falling. After getting knocked off the horse, oftentimes if they have the proper timing, they can recover from it, get right back on the horse, go right back into combat. So we want it to feel like an extension of War rather than an entirely new gameplay mode that sort of takes the player out of the skill set they've already been learning in combat and traversal, but instead complements it and just makes it makes it very fluid and feels very natural. The thing we really want players to take away from it, I think on the surface, when you look at the videos and you read a lot of the write-ups that people have written about it, they expect it to be just an action game, a very straightforward hack and slash, kill creatures, blow shit up type game. But we want we want players to take away from it adventure and exploration, and really just the sense that it's sort of harkens back to the old school games and feels like something pretty special as opposed to something just standard. Hopefully Darksiders will be coming out in early 2009 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.